In this video, I'm going to tell you my 5 no bullshit squash truths. Things that I believe every coach would agree with. 4 of them are non-squash specific. You could use them for pretty much any type of performance activity. The last one is very squash specific. You might not like them. You might not want to do the things that I talk about. But the reality is that you do these 5 things and you will improve your squash. And it's not clickbait. I'm being serious. Here's the branding. Number 1, there are no shortcuts. There is no substitute for consistent, hard training. You can't go to a coach and just expect him to do one or her to do one small change in your game. Suddenly you're going to be better. Yeah, you go and you do something and it will make a small change. But the reality is that you can't find one little piece of information, one thing that's a shortcut that's going to get you significantly better. You can't go out and get yourself a new racket because it's 5 grams lighter than the other one and it's got better strings and the grip is just... No, that is all bullshit. You have to work hard. That is the first truth. There are no shortcuts to success. You could get lucky sometimes, but the reality is that if you really want to improve your sport, specifically squash, you're going to have to work hard. And if you don't have that mindset, if you don't have that expectation, then you're not going to reach your potential. Number 1, there are no shortcuts. Number 2, the best way to improve technically is to get coaching. Now, yes, I know I said in number 1 that you can't go to a coach and expect a quick change, but the reality is that if you really want to improve from a skill technical point of view, you have to get coaching. You can't do it on your own. You can do it for short periods of time because you can't find a coach, but the reality is that you will have to have coaching. Never has a player started in their sport, never had coaching and reached their potential. Never. It will never happen. You need somebody from the outside to guide you. You need somebody from the outside to see the things that you can't see. Coaching is the best way to get technically better. Now, you can do other types of training. You can get fitter, you can get stronger, and they will improve your squash. But from a technical and a tactical point of view, you need a coach. And whether that coach is on the internet, whether that coach is in person, is even from a book perhaps, doesn't matter. But you need the outside influence to get the best from your squash. Number 3, smart squash nearly always beats fit, young, powerful squash. Now, I say squash, but it could be tennis, or it could be badminton, or table tennis, or front tennis, or paddle, or any other particular sport. Being smart is more important than being fit most times. Now, let's analyze very quickly what smart is. When I say smart, I don't mean academically intelligent. I mean adapting to the situation. Chances are you are better than me if I were to play with my left hand. If I were to play with my left hand, the chances are that you could hit better shots than I could. Chances are you're probably fitter than me at the moment. You probably move better than me. But if we were to play, chances are I might have a good chance of beating you. Why? Because I've got the experience. I've got the ability to play, or I hopefully have the ability to play smart squash. I can analyse your game very quickly. I can see, oh, you're not very good on that, your backhand side. You're left-handed like me, you're not very good, so I'm going to play more of my shots there. So that is what smart squash means, playing the squash that is suitable for that day at that time against that opponent on that court based on how I'm playing. That is smart squash. Being fit, being able to hit the ball hard, being able to move well, those are great things. But if you're playing the wrong shot at the wrong time, it doesn't really help. Now, you might think that I'm just, saying these things about the left hand, but many times with my students, I would challenge them and say, okay, now we're going to play left-handed. I'm going to play left-handed. Let's see if you can beat me. And many times they wouldn't. Not all of them, of course. because they were still not thinking. And that was the purpose of that exercise, to show them that they're not changing the way they think. Play smart squash and you will play better squash. Number 4, mentally strong players beat fitter, better players. Now, I mentioned this quite recently in episode 4 of the mindset tips about perseverance. If you are the kind of person who can play great squash, who's quite fit, but doesn't really try hard, doesn't really work hard during the match and gives up, or becomes too nervous, or is not mentally strong, then you will lose. I don't want to interrupt this flow too much, but I want to give you a quick anecdote. One time I was playing for a team back when I was younger. Each club in our areas, they played against teams. It's a very common thing. Team matches against other team matches. There was a league. And we went to a place called Lambs, which was in central London. And I heard people talking in the bar that the person I was playing was an ex-SAS soldier. Oh, now I was 23 and I was fit, but suddenly I heard them talking about how mentally strong and how they had this recent competition of who could stay in the sauna the longest, and he was in there for 92 minutes or something, I don't know. Now, I got on court and pretty much I'd lost the match before I'd even got on court. I looked at the guy, he wasn't particularly good. I was definitely technically better than him. I was definitely fitter than him, but I'd already lost. And I'd already lost because this guy was SAS, as if that was supposed to be, important. Because on a squash court, doesn't matter. What matters is how hard you work. So being mentally strong, in this case, worked. I wasn't mentally strong, sorry, that's what I'm trying to say. I was weak. I had lost the match before I'd even gone on court, because every time the rallies got hard, I kept thinking, this guy's SAS, so what? If I'd have played him again now, so what? I'm going to give 100% and I'm going to see what happens. I'm not saying I'm going to win every match. Don't believe in that mentality. But what I do believe is I'm going to do my best for every single point. I'm going to do my best for every single shot. Being mentally strong is so important, and it can compensate for many other things. Number 5. Now this one is very squash specific. The fundamentals of good squash are tight to the wall, deep, straight drives. It's that simple. I'm not saying every shot has to be that, but if you can't hit a deep, straight drive, you're never going to be good at squash. I don't care if you can smack a nick from anywhere, from the back of your head, because if you come up against somebody like James Bullsh, who I think has beautifully straight drives, if you come across somebody who can do that, suddenly all of your fancy nick shots are useless, because when the ball is touching the wall, you can't hit a nick consistently. You might hit one or two because you're lucky. So, squash is about the walls. Squash is about getting the ball into the back corner. Squash is about keeping the ball tight. It's not the only thing it is, but I guarantee there has never been a world champion who doesn't hit a great straight deep drive. There has never been a great squash player who can't do that. Yes, they can do other things as well. They can hit the nicks. They can play those deceptive boasts. They can hit great different widths, height, cross courts. But the fundamental of good squash is straight down the wall and tight. And if you don't want to hear those things, well, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. You have to be able to do that. And that's why solo practice is so good, because you can hit the ball tight up and down the wall quite a lot. Now, it doesn't mean that solo practice always translates into great squash, but it does mean that you can have the fundamentals working. There were my 5 no bullshit squash truths. I hope you like them, but if you don't, I don't really care, because the reality is they are true. It's not clickbait. I'm not just trying to get views. Do these things and you will improve. It's getting better is easy, but it's hard work. Number 1, there are no shortcuts. There's no substitute for hard, consistent work. Number 2, the best way to improve tactically and technically is to get coaching. Number 3, smart squash nearly always beats powerful squash. Play intelligently. Look at the situation and make changes. Number 4, perseverance, the mindset of never giving up, that will help you in so many situations. And number 5, the fundamental of great squash is tight and deep straight drives. On the screen at the moment is a subscription button. If and only if you think my content is useful, please consider subscribing. There is also a list of videos that I think that you might find interesting, 5 things probably, and a video that YouTube thinks is a good fit for you based on what you've been watching. And remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. See ya.